Okay, so next up is the fabulous Ryan Rice. He is Mohawk from Ganawage, Quebec. Received his MA, even though you might think he's lying. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. He received an MA in Curatorial Studies from the Center for Curatorial Studies at Bard College in New York, so he's fancy. He graduated from Concordia University with a BFA. He got fancier. And received an Associate Fine Arts from the Institute of American Indian Arts in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And we just finally got him back to Canada because he was there running the MOCNA, the Museum of Contemporary Native Arts. Is that right? So he's done a lot of innovative and groundbreaking exhibitions in Canada, one of them being Oh So Iroquois, which really looked at, is there such a thing as Iroquois aesthetics, and what would that look like? So please welcome Ryan Rice.
I'm back.
But we've got him in Toronto, so
Sego Wego. Welcome to Jojage, Mohawk Territory. I'm happy to be home and to speak today on this topic. I don't think I've been ever asked formally to speak on the Oka crisis, so I put together a brief statement that I'll share with you today, and I look forward to our dialogue. So thinking about this over the last couple of days and given 10 minutes, I thought I would focus mainly on what happened afterwards, because people really don't know what happened after the barricades came down. So the aftermath of the Oka crisis, or Mohawk crisis, yielded results far beyond its end. What began as a peaceful protest and act of resistance in Ganawage to protect what is ours, the place where the bones of the ancestors lay, catapulted the issues of land claims, systems of sovereignty, and settler-indigenous relationships far beyond taut neighboring interactions between communities and nations through measures of capitalist persuasion, a golf course, and relentless encroachment. So, moving into our territory. In Ganawage, throughout the events inside the Palisades, and I like to think about as a metaphor the barricade as a palisade because it was there for protection. We watched the 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and 11 o'clock news intently. We listened to K103, Ganawage's radio station that was held court diligently by DJ Naughty Nat. We were calmed by the silence of trafficless highways, the 132, the 207, and the 138, that normally fed the suburban arteries to the heart of Montreal. The calm shifted when the thundering sound of unseen helicopters flew high above our homes. The roar of riotous crowds burning effigies of Mohawk people at the reserve's edge. The tickle of tear gas that came about in many instances, and the clicking sounds that infected our telephone calls. When the blockades came down in Ganawage, we picked up where we left off, perhaps with greater focus of our nationalist conduct and sovereign determination. We were still situated in a highly volatile cultural, political, social, and historical zone of contention known as Quebec. During this time, I worked at the Ganawage Survival School, a high school with its own unique political history, and we had to prepare for the well-being of our students returning. The immediate reaction that came from social services agencies, governmental provision, and many other places was the process to heal. Ganawage was inundated to this effect by healers from across Turtle Island, who were brought to the community for circles, sweats, cleansings, sweepings, and overall therapy. This may have cleared some dark clouds filled with pain, fear, paranoia, and hate that settled upon our collective spirit, but I am optimistic to believe that our own traditional process and understanding through the action positioned within condolence's metaphor of consoling each other that states, by wiping away the tears, this lifted such burdens intuitively on our own terms. In the face of being mandated to heal because the community was deemed with the diagnosis of PSTD, at the same time, Canadian Army tanks installed checkpoints strategically at the intersection zones we cross daily. Psychological war tactics that insinuated Ganawagironu as violent citizens from a criminal society. However, we rolled with the punches and ducked every one of them. In my opinion, the direct and lingering effects of the crisis yielded two significant actions established locally. One, in the fall of 1990, the Ganyagihaga Radiojokwa Cultural Center circulated the idea of organizing a powwow as a commemorative and celebratory event to mark the occasion of the crisis as a means to reestablish our relationship with our neighboring communities and to eradicate the negative effects that ensued nationally. I was part of the founding committee who established the Echoes of the Proud Nation powwow. Two, the unity flag, also known as the warrior flag, became a beacon of resistance, activism, and presence. And I included the flag in the exhibition Oso Iroquois and wrote in the catalog, quote, "Nationalist artist and modern-day Mohawk warrior, the late Louis Hall, has received little attention for his creation of the warrior flag, a powerful symbol that has flown high all over the world. Although this assertive red and yellow flag has come to symbolize Iroquois survival, sovereignty, and presence, for some it represents defiance." Hall's intent for the flag carried a strong message urging Native nations to come together to reverse the effects of colonialism. We consistently witness its presence across Turtle Island at any actions taking place of resistance. And it is a reminder of the considerable contemporary shifts within Haudenosaunee philosophy of nation-to-nation relationships we endure and reinforce. So those were the two things that I thought about as marking a local significance for Ganawage. Ganasage is a different story, but that's not my story because I'm not from there. But I think among the artists within Ganasage and Ganawage, many have not been invited, interviewed about their creative process and the works that have come out of them. Many people have created works, and I've seen many works over the years by artists from Ganasage and Ganawage. And one of the works that I've looked for and tried to find and tried to get an image of is a work by Chiki, I can't remember her last name, from Ganasage. Etienne. She was on the front line, and she, when they took over the golf course in Oka, she recovered I think it was a 9-iron, and she beaded the 9-iron while she was behind the barricade. And the piece is quite phenomenal because it represents her time there, her embedding the philosophy, the Haudenosaunee philosophy of standing up for the land, and it also became this beautiful image that represented this tumultuous time. So when I think of an image, I think of Louis Hall's work, which was created, years before the crisis, and I think of Chiki Etienne's golf club. So I'll leave it there, and look forward to some discussion.